liquor. Oh my God. Let's start over once again. Good evening and welcome to Night Court. I am Judge D. Lit, and you guys have been summoned to the best of the Burn Pile trial. And tonight, old Rusty, good old Rusty, lover boy Rusty, takes the stand. Let me say hello to the Lit Lane Jury Box jurors. M. Renee. It wasn't scheduled, but I'm almost on time. Pretty Eye Shanny, girl, you came in for a good treat tonight. Tonight we get to hear, if you hadn't been in here for the Burn Pile trial or bits and pieces tonight, this is almost some standalone testimony, right? We're gonna hear from Rusty, the man that Melody Farris, our defendant, had a long-term affair with. Last night, as a matter of fact, we saw Rusty all up at the wedding, dancing, twerking with Melody. Then we saw his hand on her lower back. We saw Rusty all up at the wedding with the family, with the husband there. He even appeared on one of the pictures with the husband. Rusty was a regular old gangster. Ain't foot soldier. Foot soldier is the only person I know put herself in contempt. Good evening, Tiki. Welcome back. Welcome back. Little Lane Jury Box, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So just a reminder, as I always give a little recap, a real quick little recap. I mainly give it so give people a chance to get in here. But this is the best moments and testimonies of the state of Georgia versus Melody Farris Burn Pile trial. Okay? At the top right, that's our defendant, Melody Farris. At the top left, that's our victim, unalived, Gary Farris, patriarch of the family, affluent, well-off lawyer there in Georgia. They was married for over 38 years. That's their 4 children underneath them, Chris, Scott, Emily, Amanda. The only adult child we have not heard from yet on the stand is Amanda Farris, and that's because Amanda's going to most likely be testifying for her mom for the defense. The state is still presenting their case, and the state is alleging that Miss Melody Farris, and they didn't really say a motive, okay? But for whatever reason, she decided after 38 years of marriage, around July 4th, 2019, to put a bullet in his ribs, drag him down to across the farm property, put his body on the burn pile. That is what the state has alleged. Okay, so the trial has a lot of family drama, twists and turns, infidelities, money. And tonight we get to get into the infidelity part, okay? So we picked this trial after we already knew what was happening. She was found guilty. We know that already. You know, half of us are Team Melody, even though she had some little slutty ways. They words, not mine. And the other half, the majority, is that Melody is guilty. I so happen to be a free Team Melody. So sit back, let's relax, let's go ahead and watch this this testimony from Rusty. We've been waiting for it, Rusty. Let me see. Of course, I'm exercising fair use. That allows for me to do this type of content and review, critiquing, educational purposes, criticism, all of that good stuff, okay? And research how to get away with it or not. So let's see here. Let me take this down. I hope y'all had a great day. I did. Nothing spectacular happened, but I just had a great day, you know, and I'm not going to question that. Don't forget, tomorrow doing our daytime trials, trial watch with Demetri. We're in real time watching the trial of the Ponzi scheme wife out of West Virginia. Today we heard the closing arguments. Tomorrow we will be tuning in for the verdict, okay? So that's tomorrow. Let's get ready to get started. Thank y'all for joining me. Please hit the like. Uh-oh, there go Rusty. Oh, yeah. What should I do?
Just go stand behind the chair and go stand up there and behind the chair. I'll swear you can sit down.
Oh, Lord, Rusty deaf?
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear from the evidence you're about to present this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. I do. Go ahead, have a seat. Mr. Barton, does that device work? Can you hear me?
Yes.
It's working?
Yes.
I will try to keep this microphone as close as I can.
Child, I didn't know Rusty was deaf.
Record, please.
Roy Henry Barton, Jr.
All right, Mr. Barton, you're going to have to speak up louder. You have a very soft voice. We can't hear you. So if you'll do me a favor, try to speak to that back wall, if you would.
Welcome back,
Roy
Lady
Henry
Tia.
Barton
Welcome back,
Jr.
VA Sad. Y'all right on time.
Do you go by Rusty?
I do.
How old are you today?
71.
What is your educational background?
2 years of college.
And what did you study there?
Business administration.
Where did you go to school?
Montlow State Community College.
Where's that located?
In between Tullahoma, Tennessee and Lynchburg, Tennessee.
After you did that, what type of work did you get in?
I'm going to just say one thing, and then I'm not going to stop it for a while. So Tiki say, no, wait a minute. Lady Tia, thank you for being on time. Thank you, everybody, for being on time. Thank you for joining. Livy say, Lord, Rusty. Tiki say, well, Melody wasn't a discriminating kind of slut. That's good. Lady Tia say, Rusty helped, and he couldn't hear what he was getting into. Okay, I just want to say this. He looked good for 71 years old. Okay, I don't like old Rusty because I think he finna turn on Melody. And Tia, don't tell us because we ain't seen it. However, he looked good for 71. He just deaf. Okay, Rusty say his man parts worked just fine. He didn't have to hear her body calling him. Her body called him in sign language.
I believe are you?
Wait. One more. Rusty say he was a lip reader. Did y'all get it? If you got it, shame on you.
Sales?
I am, yes. But when I started, I was the bookkeeper for the dealership.
How long have you been doing sales?
Over 52 years.
In the 52 years that you've been doing sales, what type of things do you sell?
Construction equipment, bulldozers, backhoes.
Heavy machinery?
Yes.
If you would, just tell the jury, as part of your job as a salesman, do you have a route? What do you do? Just kind of inform them of what your everyday job is like as a salesman.
I have a designated territory, 11 counties in central middle Tennessee.
Sorry, but I have to stop the presses. Welcome back, Miss Step 219, girl. I know you be in the clouds when I don't see you, girl. I know, but I sure like when I see you, girl. Last night, I felt like a part of me was missing. Part of the jury box was missing. Miss Step 219, Lady Step, if she up there, child. When I don't see my regular jurors, I be like, oh, they must be busy. But it is good to see you in the chat, Miss Step 219. I know you dropped down earlier, but I want to give you a special welcome. OG Woo Child, you just in time to get in on Miss Step 219. Special welcome, child. Good evening. Welcome back to the box. Y'all rolling up just in time because, baby, this is the lip reader lover boy of Melody Farris. This is her lover that we saw the pictures of last night that was at the wedding. We heard a lot about Rusty from them children of hers. So y'all are just in time. Thank you for always supporting OG Woo Child. Let's get it started. Well, let's start again. And make sure y'all whisper so y'all won't distract him.
About 5 counties I've covered the entire time. The rest of the outlying counties from the core has been, it changes as they change territories and sales.
Good to see you in here, Tweety.
Is this inside sales or outside sales?
Outside sales.
So these
Welcome
are,
all our
do you have to
working
cold
jurors
call,
in
do
the
you find your
club.
own clients, or how does
That's
that
a
work?
good one, living for the
Well,
daytime too.
since
Greg.
I've been doing it so long, I do very little cold calling, but as new businesses start up, especially nowadays with
Winter.
landscaping,
Is it John Deere, or what type of things do you sell?
John Deere.
Do you sell mainly like bulldozers, heavy machinery to construction companies or to farms, or what type of businesses do you deal with mostly?
All cities, counties, utility districts, farmers do buy quite a bit because I have all of my territory is very rural. So I don't have any large contractors, the guys that do the big state jobs for the most part.
Are you from the city or from the country?
I live in Tullahoma, so
Well, tell us about that. What size of a city or town is that?
Tullahoma is about 18,000 people, and I was born there.
Your whole life been there?
Yes.
Do you have a lot of relatives there?
Yes.
A lot of friends?
Yes.
Is it a place that you consider close to your heart?
It is my heart. My daughters live there. It's home.
Right. And I'm not going to ask your daughters' names, but you have 2 adult daughters. Is that right?
Correct.
And they're your joy? Are they your joy? You love your daughters?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And grandkids?
4.
Now, as a salesman,
Hey, Captain Smith, welcome back to
Tell
the
the
Day
jury,
Jury
if you
Box. You're
would.
just in time, Greg.
are you an extroverted person or an introverted person? Do you like to talk?
No.
But as a salesperson, I guess you have to do a lot of talking. Is that right?
No, you do a lot of listening.
Listening? And when you interact with other people, is it important to listen to what they need?
Correct.
Is it important to listen to what their concerns are?
Yes.
Is it important to take details?
They generally tell you.
Yeah, they'll tell you how they feel about things.
Yes. I mean, they know as much about my equipment as I do. So they tell me what they want.
And is your business, is it one that you actually have policies and you have forms and you have computer and things that you have to do when you're doing your sales?
Oh, yes.
What type of tools do you use to do your job?
Well, I have my company computer, and with that is provided all the specifications, for equipment. Most everything now there's no hard copies for literature. I mean, you just go on the internet and look up John Deere, just like anybody can.
Do you have, I guess, templates or forms on the computer that you use for quotes and stuff like that?
Yes,
Do you have to pay attention to detail on that?
I do, but I generally get somebody in the office to do that for me now. I don't keep up with the computer stuff that much.
How heavy is the sales when it comes to dealing with numbers and crunching numbers and things like that?
I don't understand what that question means.
Do you have to figure out how much things cost and how much percentage and anything, do any math in your job?
That's the way that it's done. But in the last several years, I have a sales manager that does that with this newer company. The sales manager does it for me because we've had to change systems again, and I just haven't caught on to the new operating system.
When it comes to doing public speaking, do you
Don't
like
be
to do
looking at
that?
Melody.
Not particularly.
Do you like to have confrontational settings?
Not at all.
Are you more comfortable in a different type of atmosphere when talking with people?
No.
Are you comfortable at all talking with people?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Do you like being a salesperson?
I love it.
And could you see yourself doing any other type of work, or is sales just what you do?
Well, considering I've been doing it for 52 years, I think yes, sales is what I do.
Are you successful at it?
I must be.
Is that yes, you are?
Yes, I are. Yes, I am.
I'm from South Carolina, so I sometimes say things.
Wait. Now we see how Rusty pulled on Melody, okay? He a good listener. He knew how to sell that wood, and he funny. Oh my God, I don't want to like him.
Differently too.
He the enemy.
You agree though that you do talk for a living,
Yes.
and when you're a salesperson, is it fair to say that you have an objective when you're meeting with people?
Yes.
You want to make the sale.
Correct.
So you have to be persuasive.
I'm not a pushy salesman. One of the pluses of doing this so long is people know me, they come to me. So I don't have to go out and say mine's better than theirs and that kind of stuff. It's different than if you were a 30-year-old person out getting, new into the sales and none of the customers know you.
So in some ways, you're either persuasive in a good sense or in a bad sense. Would that be true in your job?
I would assume, yes.
But you're trying to get someone to make a decision. Is that right?
Yes.
You understand today that when you are answering the questions, the only thing I'm asking you, the decision I need you to help the jury make is to get to the truth.
Correct.
That's all I'm asking you. You understand that?
I do.
I'm not asking you to make a case against anybody or anything else. Can we agree that your job is to tell us the truth?
Correct.
The whole truth?
And nothing but.
All right, let's go back to, you're from Alabama, is that right? Excuse me, Tennessee, I apologize. From Tennessee?
I'm from Tennessee.
Okay. And you are
There's
Tennessee.
a big difference.
That's true. And you are a Tennessee fan, is that right?
I am.
And orange is your color, is that correct?
That is correct.
And how many, in your small town, how many people know your family?
A good number. I'm amazed at times at how many people are there that I do not know. But because we have an Air Force base, there's a lot of people that come and go.
And your grandfather was well known in the community?
Correct.
Was he involved in law enforcement?
He was.
Tell the jury about that, please.
All of my young life, childhood life, up to my probably 20s, my grandfather was either the chief of police in Tullahoma or the sheriff of Coffee County, which Tullahoma is in Coffee County.
Do you have respect for law enforcement?
Very much so.
Do you understand that they have a hard job to do some days?
I do that.
Even when they're investigating a former lover for murder?
I do.
Now, if I asked you if you were a fan of Detective Hayes and Detective Pope, which one would you be less of a fan of? Again, honesty is what I'm after.
Okay. Who would I be less a fan of?
Yes.
Sergeant Pope.
If I asked you to say between Sergeant Pope and Detective Hayes, which was the good cop and which was the bad cop when they talked to you?
Detective Hayes was the good cop.
Do you remember Detective Hayes here?
I did not recognize him, but yeah.
Are you married?
No, I am not.
Are you divorced?
Yes.
How long were you married for?
36 years,
36?
I think.
When did that marriage end?
The divorce was final in 2012.
Did your former wife work in the court system at all?
She did. She was a court reporter.
And how long did she do that?
I think 32 years.
Did you have some idea from your family connections and from your former wife's job about the legal system or the legal community?
Probably not as much as you would think, because I was never involved in anything with going to court or anything like that. My grandfather being the local police chief and the sheriff, I was
Welcome back, Connie.
single digits teenager when he did most of that. And then my wife, when she was a court reporter, my biggest job was delivering transcripts back to people.
Sure. Never thought you'd be in the middle of a murder trial testifying as a witness, did you?
Never in my entire life.
Do you want to be here?
Not at all.
You understand why you're here, though, right?
I do.
Are you an outdoorsman?
I am.
Tell the jury, what are your hobbies when it comes to hunting, fishing, things like that?
Hunting.
What type of hunting do you do?
Almost all is deer hunting, whitetail.
How avid of a hunter are you?
Some would say very.
Do you ever travel to other states to hunt?
I do.
We talked about Kansas.
Kansas, Colorado, Texas, Idaho, Montana, Canada, Mexico. You want more?
Sure. Where else have you traveled?
New Mexico, Florida, South Florida.
Mainly deer hunting.
Deer, elk, antelope, waterfowl, quail, dove.
If they don't get onto the
use firearms
hanky
and a bow?
I know something.
I do hunt with a bow some, yes.
Do you use one more than the other?
No, bow season for me is very short, and I don't use it a whole lot. But rest of the time, I'm generally a muzzle loader and rifle hunter.
Do you have any experience being connected to a farm?
My other grandfather, not the chief of police, my daddy's dad, they lived across the street from us, or we lived across the street from them, however you want to look at it. And he had probably a couple 100-acre farm, ran about 80 Black Angus cows, and they had a little country store.
Did you have a farm at some point?
I did. I inherited my mother's farm and with my sister, and had it for a few years.
And how big was that?
115 acres.
What did the farm do? Produce anything, or was it animal farm or crops?
When my mom and her husband had it, they raised cows also. And then after my sister and I inherited it, I had one of the neighbors got to cut hay off of it. It was a hill farm, pretty steep hill. And the rest of the time it was, just a place for me to go deer hunting.
Are you a person that can basically build a house from scratch?
No.
Do you have any skills in carpentry or anything like that?
In what?
Carpentry, building things?
Not very good at it. I would be more a framer than a finished carpenter.
Have you ever tried to build a house or add on to a house or doing construction?
My dad and I one time built a 20 by 20. We called it a barn, but it wasn't perfect.
How about farm equipment? What can you use?
The only thing that I ran down at the farm was a small Ford tractor.
What size? Do you remember?
I do not remember the model.
Old type of tractor or more common new tractor?
It was like
wheels narrow up front or wide?
I'm sorry?
The wheels in the front, were they close together or wide?
You didn't run it close together. You didn't run a tricycle on a hill farm. Okay. So they were wide, yes. It was about a 95 model.
How about RTVs? You ever used an RTV, drive an RTV?
I have.
Do you own any?
I do not. I never have.
Any side-by-sides?
No.
Do you ever use those things during hunting?
No. Now, when you're saying I have a four-wheeler.
Okay, let's talk about that. What type of four-wheeler do you have?
It's a 1997 model Honda 200.
Do you take that hunting with you?
I have, but not in several years.
Anytime that you're hunting, do you ever use a four-wheeler or something like that to move deer?
Yes, I have tied a deer to the back of the four-wheeler and drug it.
You said tied. How do you tie it?
Just with a rope to the luggage rack.
Nothing fancy, something simple just to move it?
Yeah.
Do you have a truck?
I do.
What kind of truck do you have?
Ford F-150.
Do you have a motorcycle?
I do.
What type of motorcycle do you have?
I have a Harley.
Which brand or model is it? Which model is it?
A Road King.
How long have you been riding motorcycles?
All my life.
Something you like to do?
Since I was 14, I should say. That's when I got my license.
Is that something you like to do?
It is, not as much so in the last few years.
Do you own any guns?
I own a bunch of guns.
Tell the jury, if you would, what type of guns that you have. Is the list too long? I think as you're saying, you said to law enforcement.
Okay, I was going to say, you say that? Yes.
Yes.
The list is too long.
I think when law enforcement asks you about guns,
I couldn't even rattle them all off if you wanted me to, but I could tell you a good number of them.
Roughly about how many do you have?
I don't know now. I probably have 40.
And out of the 40, how many of those are handguns?
Probably 6, 8, maybe 10. I don't know.
Did you ever talk to the defendant about how sometimes bullets and guns are tested?
Say again.
Do you ever talk to the defendant about have conversations about how guns and bullets are tested?
Not that I recall.
You don't remember doing that?
No, sir.
Where were your guns in 2018? Where were your guns stored?
They would have been in a storage building in my gun safes, except for the 1 or 2 that might have been in my pickup truck.
When law enforcement came and talked to you about this case, did they ask you where your guns were?
To the best of my recollection, yes, they did.
I mean, they were interested in your guns, were they not?
They were.
And they asked you where the guns were at?
I don't remember them asking them about being in the storage building in a gun safe, but I think they just asked me what I had and if I had any, I guess basically with me. And I told them that I didn't have any on my person, but that I had, I think, a couple in my truck.
You had 2 in your truck, I believe. Is that right?
I think that's right. Yes.
.357 revolver and a .40 caliber Glock.
Yes.
Did you voluntarily turn over or give the .357 to law enforcement in this case?
I did.
And did you know that gun was tested or looked at by the GBI?
I didn't know that, but I kind of figured it was. That's why they got it.
Do you remember telling law enforcement about how many people knew where your guns were at?
I'm sorry.
Do you remember saying only 2 people remembered or knew where your guns were at? Yourself, and I believe your daughter?
I don't remember saying that. No, sir.
Were they kept somewhere else besides your house?
Yes. Yeah.
Tell the jury about that.
I did not keep any. I lived at my daughter's house at the time. I was in between houses, and I did not keep any guns in the house because her husband was not a gun person and was fearful of them. And so I kept them, and I had 3 gun safes, still do, and I kept them in the storage building, I don't know, a few miles down the road. And so all the guns were in there except, I guess, those 2 at the time that were in a bag in the kind of the back floorboard of my truck.
Do you remember when law enforcement came up and executed a search warrant to look at your guns?
Actually, I don't think they had a search warrant. They did for the house, and I guess they were looking for guns.
That's fine. Do you remember them coming up looking for your guns?
Yes, I do.
Now, you're junior, Roy Barton Jr., is that right?
That's correct.
Your dad is senior?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, I know he's passed away. I'm not trying to go down that or anything, but did he have a lot of guns?
He had several. Most of them had been rolled down to me at this point.
Do you have pistols?
I think he had 3.
Were any of those a .38 special?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do you know where those guns were at in 2018?
I do not.
Do you remember telling law enforcement that they were in Martha Jane's house?
With that, yes. I mean, I thought you meant like specifically in the house. No, they would have been there at Martha's house. Yes.
Wherever they were at in the house, is that right?
Correct.
But you don't know exactly what pistols he had. Is that fair?
No, I can. He had a Colt Python 357. He had a Browning 22. I think they called it a target pistol. And then he had gotten Martha Jane a pistol, and I really don't know what it was.
Had a 357?
I do not know.
I want to talk about Martha Jane. Who is Martha Jane Barton?
She is or was my dad's wife, second wife.
Stepmother?
Yes.
What year did they get married or come together?
1975.
And how long were they married?
Until he passed away in 2014.
In 1975 from 2014, where did they live?
They lived in the house that I was raised in with my mom and dad on Avoca Road. And then a few years after they got married, they built a new house on what's Carter Blake Road. And that's Martha still lives there.
How old is Martha today?
I think she's 83.
How would you describe Martha?
A good woman, worked at the bank for 53 years, I think. She's in very poor health now. She's had all kinds of procedures and heart valve replacements.
She's had heart issues.
Yes.
She doesn't do well with stress.
No.
And but in Tullahoma today, she lives still in the house.
Yes, she still lives in the house by herself.
Now, help explain to the jury the relationship between Martha Jane. Sometimes y'all refer to her as MJ. Is that right?
That's correct.
So the relationship between Martha Jane and the defendant.
Martha and Melody's mom were first cousins.
So the defendant would be second cousins to Martha.
I don't really know how all that
One
works.
level down.
Yeah. Because
So related,
first cousin, twice removed, and
sure, related by blood, but referred to as cousins. Is that?
yes,
And you would be the stepson of Martha Jane.
correct.
When it describe to the jury the relationship through the years and how close they were, the defendant and Martha Jane.
Very close. My dad, when he was alive, he was not much of anybody of a man that wanted to drive. Martha always drove. So anytime Martha needed to go basically anywhere, which most of the time was to go to Nashville to the heart doctor, Melody would come up and get Martha and then drive her to Nashville to the doctor, and did that off and on for years.
Would you describe the defendant's relationship with Martha Jane more akin to a mother-daughter?
Very much so.
If you could say, who does the defendant love the most in the world, where would Martha Jane be on that?
Very high on that list.
Would you describe Martha Jane as a God-fearing lady?
I didn't understand.
Would you describe Martha Jane as a God-fearing lady?
Very much so.
A Christian?
Yes.
She didn't know about your sexual affair with the defendant, did she?
I don't think so.
Would that have broken her heart?
I don't know. Probably.
She'd been disappointed in you?
Yes.
The two of you hid it from her, didn't you?
Yes.
Through the years, how often would the defendant come and see Martha Jane?
Are you talking like 30 years ago up to now or then?
Yeah, what I want you to do is to explain to the jury Some relatives see each other once a year, family reunions. Some relatives
Right.
never see each other for 5 years. Some relatives never see each other at all. How often would the defendant come up and physically be involved in Martha Jane's life?
That I do not know, because I didn't always know even when she would come up. I mean, she would come up to do things, and and I wouldn't know it.
Would it be more than occasional?
Yes, I would think so.
So a common event for the defendant?
I would think so.
A lot, I guess, is another way to say it.
That's a relative question, so I don't know. Again, I didn't know every time that she came up through the years. Sometimes it might be weeks later, my dad would say that Melody had been up.
Well, when they would see each other, would the defendant come to Martha Jane's house or home?
Yes.
And would she be family and have access to the home?
Yes.
Come and go as she please?
Yes.
Full access to everywhere in the house?
Yes.
Could even come to the house when Martha Jane's not there?
Yes.
Did the defendant help Martha Jane with her property and things in her house?
She did.
I want to talk to you about the defendant. You see Melody Farris here in court today.
I do.
Describe something she's wearing and point her out for the record, please.
Glasses on top of her head, gray jacket, black top.
Just point to where she's at, please. Now let the record reflect the witnesses identify the defendant.
All right, so
Is it awkward being here in court in front of her?
It's awkward being in court, period. So yes.
When it comes to your feelings for the defendant at this moment, how much love do you have for her?
Don't know that that's a measurable item.
That's what you have to do in court, sir. Tell me how much love you have for her right at the moment.
I do not know.
Do you love her?
I do not know.
But you did love her in the past, correct?
Correct.
What?
You were in love with her,
Silver
fair to
black.
say?
Yes.
And she was in love with you, fair to say?
Yes.
Oh, his eyes
Now,
watered up
you've
too.
had an opportunity to listen to some of your recordings in this case. Is that true?
I have.
And you know that there are recorded jail calls and other calls with you and the defendant.
Yes.
Can you tell the jury, did y'all have a special kind of words or codes or terms of endearment that you would use with each other?
I'm assuming that you're thinking about some of them. Yeah, we did.
Like what were some of those phrases y'all would share all the time on the phone or when you talk?
One of them would be all.
ALL, all,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
What does that mean? At the time when you were still together,
Yes. Yeah.
are you telling this jury today that y'all are not together, right?
Correct.
At the time, even after the arrest, when you were still together,
Mhm.
what did all mean?
It meant, and it kind of started back when Dad got sick and Martha was having the heart surgery. Don't know what we would have done without Melody being up there taking care of Martha, because then I was having to take care of Dad. And so we talked most of the time. We talked several times every day, and it was, okay, we got this, get started, do the day,
To encourage one another, maybe?
Yeah, just, okay, you take care of this, I'll take care of that, and we get through the day.
Would that encapsulate for better or for worse?
No.
It wouldn't?
No, it was not
Boo!
I wouldn't put it as an emotional love you kind of thing. It was a let's go tackle the day kind of thing.
But you would say that to her, and she would say that to you during this investigation and after the arrest. Is that true?
It is.
So it applied to this situation.
It means just handle the day. Do what's got to be done.
So my question is,
strong.
My question is, yes or no, it does apply to her murder charges.
I think it applies to the whole thing. I wouldn't say specifically the charges.
But her situation in 2018,
Yes.
2019,
Yeah, the situation.
right, when she's been arrested for murder, y'all are saying all to each other, right?
Correct.
How about, did you ever say the word forward? Tell the jury what forward would mean when you would say it to one another.
Forward is a very similar thing to all. It just keep moving forward, keep going, get things done, handle what life throws at you.
How about, would she ever say she wants your hand on her waist?
She did.
What does that mean?
At my father's funeral, she came up and we were standing by the casket, and everybody comes by and you hug and thank them and all that. And we were just standing there, and I put my hand on her waist. It was kind of it was a strength for me to get through the day.
And she has said that to you after being arrested for murder. Is that accurate?
Mm-hmm.
What age did you meet the defendant? How old was she?
The first time I met her,
I think you met her when she was 15.
that would probably be about right.
1975?
Correct.
Where did y'all meet?
At Dad and Martha's wedding.
Really?
Mhm.
And what did you think of her when she was 15?
I don't even remember.
Do you remember when her and Gary got together? Because they got together young, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So at 15, how close were you with her during her teenage years and the early years?
Not at all.
Not at all?
Not at all.
Just kind of knew of her? You just knew of her?
Yes.
How often would you see her? I'm going to get to 2014, but before then, how often would you see her?
Rarely. Very rarely.
Now,
Don't be looking
how
at me other than
smart is the defendant?
I don't know.
Is she smart or not smart?
Well, I would consider her smart, yes.
Would you consider her hardworking?
Yeah, very.
She didn't suffer a slacker, did she? She didn't like lazy people.
She was not a slacker, no.
Like she didn't like lazy people, did she?
No.
Would you describe her as a take charge person?
Yes.
Would you describe her as a person that gets things done?
Yes.
In fact, that's what you told law enforcement, right?
I'm assuming I did, or you wouldn't have asked.
Is she a planner? Someone makes plans?
I would say yes.
Does she have a backbone?
Yeah, she does.
In fact, believe in 2014, you first talked about it. How much did she help with Martha Jane and your father during that time?
Oh, she was an absolute tremendous help. I don't know what we would have done without her. One time she was up, and Dad and Martha both, Dad had a stroke, went in the hospital, then went in the nursing home, and he never came home. And Martha, then during that period of time, had test and then heart valve replacement. And one of the things that happened was the sewer system backed up and flooded the house. And she met with the septic tank people to get it cleaned out. So,
She gets things done, doesn't she?
yes,
She gets her hands dirty, doesn't she?
yes.
All right, let's look at March of 2014. Why is that month and year significant in the context of you and the defendant?
Say it again.
March 2014.
That probably would be when Dad went in the hospital. I didn't remember that month
Okay,
exactly.
and that's when the defendant came up to Tennessee, is that right?
Yes. She was already there, actually, when Dad had his stroke. Her and Martha were, at the time, were already in Nashville at the doctor's office.
And then kind of later on, a couple months later, I think it was in September 2014, was it not, that things changed between friendship to romance?
I do not recall not even the month.
Do you recall the year? Was it in 2014?
Yes.
Tell the jury how that happened. What was going on?
We were just in close contact with each other, almost day in, day out, trying to handle everything, and it became, we became a thing.
So your relationship with her started in 2014.
Yes,
Did you know she was married?
I did.
Did you know she was married to Gary?
I did.
And I'm not asking for details or anything, but you two were intimate during this relationship?
We were.
We want all the details.
So you would know
Okay.
whether or not she has any tattoos on her?
I would.
What?
Tell the jury what tattoos she has.
She has a red heart and the Roman numerals XO.
XO tattoos on her, right?
Yes.
Where?
Those tattoos represent you, do they not?
No, they do not.
Where?
They don't?
No, sir, they do not.
Who do they represent?
They do not represent anybody.
But you were with her when she got those tattoos, right?
I was.
And y'all went to the tattoo parlor shop together and got them?
Welcome back.
We
You
did.
got it, you.
So you were there when she got them.
Correct.
And y'all both like to drink Crown Royal, is that right?
That is correct.
And so you're with her when she gets the tattoos. Then she gets the tattoos, and it's both of the drinks that you like. Is that right?
Yes, the XO is for the Crown Royal XO. That's
How about her phone having XO in it for you? Do you know anything about that?
now I didn't know that.
Do you know if she's ever referred to you or the number for you as being XO?
I do not recall that.
You didn't know that or don't know that?
I do not recall that, so I don't know whether it.
Yes, Crown Royal.
How many times?
Why not asking where this goddamn Crown Royal tattoo at? Let me find out. Melody got a tramp stamp in honor of Rusty, old Dusty Rusty, of a Crown Royal shit on her lower back. Crown Royal and tattoos. Who would have thunk it? Let me find out Rusty a pimp. You just did. Oh my God.
Do you think you and the defendant, and again, I'm not trying to get into the list of details or anything like that, but you two would rendezvous at a certain place, is that right?
Yes.
What city would you
Cinderella
both
spells.
meet up at?
Dalton, Georgia.
And Dalton was about 106 miles from Tullahoma, your home, is that right?
Yeah,
Takes about an hour and 45 minutes to get there.
roughly, yes.
Do you know it's about 80 miles from her former home in Cherokee County?
I just kind of figured it was about halfway.
Takes about an hour and a half from her house to get there, is that right?
That I don't know.
But I guess the point is, why y'all were meeting Dalton is because it was halfway between the houses.
That's right.
And when you met in Dalton, there's a certain exit that you would meet at.
Correct.
What exit was that?
333.
333. What hotels would you stay at there?
Mostly the Super 8.
How many years were y'all meeting up there? From 2014 to 2018?
Yes.
Who would pay for the rooms for y'all two?
I would.
Always?
Always.
Why is that?
Just what I do.
Explain that to me. Why?
I always thought the man paid for things.
In the beginning, I think, did y'all meet there monthly?
Oh, I don't remember how often and when and that. I'm
But
sure there's records, but I don't.
Did it progress to meeting weekly?
At times,
Did you meet more than one time during the week?
it's possible that we did. I do not recall that we did, but
You wouldn't dispute if
no.
that was the
Oh,
case?
No. Again, I know there's records. So.
Did you ever ask her when y'all were meeting up, what is she telling her family why she's not there? Did you ever ask her?
I don't think so.
You never asked her what excuse or what are you telling them when you're coming to meet me? You never got curious to ask her how she's doing this? Not one time?
No. I'm trying to think how to say it.
Lady Steph.
She could go and come as she pleased, and so she was very open to get to leave home and be gone and come back. Nobody kept tabs on her.
She wasn't a prisoner in her home, is what
No.
you're saying.
Not at all.
My question, though, is if you're meeting weekly and you're having an affair, are you not worried about her husband going, where is my wife? Did that not ever pop up or y'all talk about it?
No, it didn't. I guess we did talk about it, but I think she got to do her thing and he did his thing, and I don't think they didn't keep tabs on each other.
Right, but you're not trying to tell this jury that y'all were having an open relationship.
And I guess I'm saying that they did
From based on what?
what she said.
What she says?
Yes.
So were y'all open at the wedding, Emily's wedding, going around openly engaging in a romantic relationship at Emily's wedding? Is that what you're telling the jury?
I don't recall us being very openly romantic at the.
Right, that's the point. You weren't, correct?
I don't think so. I mean, we might have sat at the same table at times and we might have danced together, but I wouldn't call us. I did that with other people there too.
Sure. My question is, you weren't being openly romantic in front of her family at Emily's wedding, were you?
No, I wouldn't think so.
That's because y'all were hiding the relationship, right?
Yes.
Now, you had a girlfriend named Christina Grant, I think in 2017. Is that right?
I did.
And you were hiding the relationship that you had with Melody from her.
Correct.
And she did something that you did not want her to do. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Tell the jury what she did.
She sent an email to Gary Farris, Melody's husband, telling him, I don't know exactly what it said because I never saw it, but telling him that Melody was having an affair with me or vice versa, however it was worded.
I think that was in October of 2017. Would that be?
Yes, I think that's correct.
Now you just said on the stand that you never saw the email.
Still.
Did you not see an email, a copy of the email that the defendant took on her phone from Gary's phone?
I could have, but I do not recall seeing it.
Judge, you might just have one more. But you did talk to Christina about the email she sent.
I did.
What did you tell her to do?
I don't remember what I told her to do. I just told her that what she had done was pretty stupid and she shouldn't have done that.
Did you not tell her that to tell Gary it was just a rumor? Do you remember telling Christina to get back in contact with Gary and let him know that it was just a rumor because he's a lawyer and he would understand a rumor?
I do not recall that, no, sir.
Were you concerned that because Gary was an attorney that he could drag her information and her lifestyle into a court?
Yes.
Do you recall telling Christina that he could bring you in and ask you about your sexual partners or things like that?
Say again.
Do you remember telling Christina that you were concerned that Gary could bring her in and ask her about her relationships with other people?
I do not recall that, but I could understand that I might have said that.
Do you remember what happened with the defendant when Gary got that information from Christina? What did she say to you?
What did Melody say to me?
Yes.
That Gary came into her room and told her that he had gotten that email.
And how did she feel about that? How did the defendant feel about Gary finding out from Christina?
I think she was just upset because Christina had done that.
Mad at Christina?
Yes.
Mad at you?
I don't think so.
She's very forgiving towards you?
I don't think at that point I'd done anything wrong.
When you would, through the years, communicate with the defendant, would you talk to her in person? Would you meet her face to face? We know about going up to hotels and meeting in Dalton, but outside of that, would you ever just go and do things with her, go out to eat or do other things?
Yeah, sometimes when she would come to town, we would go somewhere and eat or something.
And when you would talk to her, how many times a day, tell the jury, how many times a day would you talk to her on the phone, whether it's by voice or by text messages?
Off and on all day.
Almost every day?
Almost every day.
What was your pattern? What time of the day would y'all talk and how would you do it?
Well, I didn't know there was a pattern. It was just random phone calls and random texts. I don't think there was a pattern.
Would you get up in the morning and call her?
Probably.
Would you call her through the day?
Mm-hmm.
Would you call her in the evenings?
Mm-hmm. Or she would call me or whatever. Yeah.
So once you get up in the morning, would she be the first one you would call?
Not necessarily.
Normally?
I don't know. I mean, that I don't know.
Would she be one of the first persons you would call?
Probably.
And during the day, how many times do you think you would call her during the day every day?
I cannot answer that question. I mean, I'm sure you have records and could tell every specification there is about it, but I couldn't answer that.
Was it less than 5 times or more than 5 times?
I'm sure it varied. I'm sure it was both.
And what things would y'all talk about?
Everything from the weather to the kids to the grandkids to Martha, Daddy. I mean, just life.
Now, I'm going to talk to you about July 10th of 2018. Do you remember when you had another interview with the sheriff's office and some people from the TBI?
On July the 10th?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Do you remember July 2018 speaking with law enforcement?
I do, yeah.
Was there a time that when you were speaking to law enforcement that the defendant just kind of unannounced showed up?
She came into town, if that's what you're asking.
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
Okay, yes.
All right, tell the jury about the time she came into town when law enforcement was there.
I think that we had my attorney and myself had an interview with Detective Hayes, and I'm assuming since you said it that way that was the day that the TBI was there too. And I think after that meeting, and my attorney's office was downtown Tullahoma. So after that, I left and went to Martha's house to check on her, see how she was doing. And then on my way back to town, I noticed that Melody was behind me.
What vehicle was she in?
The Mercedes.
She had not told you she was coming up, correct?
Correct.
It was a surprise, right?
Yes.
Unannounced, would you say?
Yes.
And she was there because of why?
I guess because I was with the police.
What did she ask you?
What did they say?
What did you tell her?
I'm assuming whatever they said. I don't remember what conversations we had.
What else did she say to you?
Don't remember exactly, but I would say, why are you here?
And did she give you any instructions or anything to say or not say to them?
No,
She tell you not to talk to law enforcement?
probably. I don't remember that for a fact, but
Don't be trying to
Had
jump
she told
her in
you
the
in this
grease.
case not to talk to law enforcement?
yes,
Boo. He a snitch.
not
Fuck
to
him.
talk to them, but I mean, I'm not going to run and hide, but just don't sit down and have a conversation with them. Be polite.
So you're saying she did not tell you to stop talking to law enforcement?
Okay, there's talking to somebody, and then there's telling them, answering questions, and that I think that's what was meant.
So tell me that. You're telling me that she told you not to answer questions of law enforcement.
That was my assumption of what it meant. Yes.
She didn't want you to give law enforcement anything that could be used against her, right?
You don't want nothing to be used against.
Just he can answer. He's not speculating. He talked to her and had face-to-face conversations.
He doesn't know what.
Wait a minute. Who this attorney think he talking to? Why he getting beyond himself? Okay. Y'all know how he talking to the judge, and this guy here is such a liar. Snitches get stitches, and he gonna be sold up.
What she was thinking, so he can answer what she
Sorry about that.
said and maybe how he interpreted it.
Go ahead and answer the question.
Sir?
You can answer the question. Did she talk to you and tell you not to talk to law enforcement because they were trying to get information on her?
I don't think it was spread out verbatim like that. It was just, don't talk.
I mean, it wasn't about anything else except the murder case, right?
Correct.
It didn't have any. I mean, there's no other reason you're talking to law enforcement, is there?
No.
Gary was found on July 5th of 2018. There's a calendar right there. Do you see that Thursday, July 5th, 2018?
I do.
And almost a year later, on June 18, 2019, the defendant was arrested. And you know that, don't you?
I do.
How do you know that?
I'm the one that carried her to the police station, turned her over to the police.
Because she was staying with you in Tullahoma?
No, she was not staying with me.
Boo.
We were together having lunch.
Physically present with her that day, right?
Sir?
You were physically with her that day?
I was that afternoon. Yeah.
She was in your vehicle?
She was.
And y'all had been together for how many days?
We had not been together for days. We had just left that afternoon to go. We were going to go have something to eat and then go someplace else, like Franklin or something.
So you're trying to say you were not socializing or hanging out or being together as a couple during this time?
Well, we were going to go have lunch, a late lunch. So I would, however you want to word that, yes.
Well, how many days was she there before she got arrested?
Several.
How many is several? Are we talking days or weeks?
A week or 10 days.
And how many times out of the week or 10 days did you see her?
I do not recall.
Probably every day, wasn't it?
I wouldn't think so.
The day of the arrest, you actually, when she was in the car, you brought her to the police department, I believe.
I did.
And then after she was arrested, you talked to her on the phone numerous times. Is that right?
What time frame were we talking about?
In June and July and other dates after she was
yes.
arrested? I want to go from how many times do you think you talked to her by phone? Let's go from July 4th of 2018, the 4th of July to, let's just go after the arrest, October 31st of 2019. So from 4th of July in 2018 to Halloween in 2019, how many times do you think you talked to her on the phone? There's roughly 484 days during that time period. How many times do you think you talked to her on the phone?
A lot.
What is a lot?
I don't know. You have the number. I don't.
More than the number of days?
I'm sure.
How many text messages do you think you shared with her during that time?
You have the numbers. I do not.
How many times do you think you said, I love you, or something all or for to her during that time?
Every day, probably. Or every day we talk.
Because you were there to help her, right?
Of course.
You loved her, right?
Yes,
You were supporting her, right?
I was.
You're going to do what you can to help her out of this fix, right?
I was.
In 2018, when they talked to you about the case, the first time that law enforcement talked to you, I think it was the TBI that came out on July 6th. That was a Friday of 2018.
Correct.
Do you remember how many phones and phone numbers you told law enforcement that she had?
I do not.
Do you remember when you met with them again, changing that number or giving more information?
I do remember changing it. I don't remember what was said.
After the first interview, you gave information that she did have a burner phone. Is that right?
That's your terminology. I don't use the terminology of burner phones. Both of her phones were, I would call a straight talk, that you actually purchased the minutes for. So
would it be fair to say that one of the phones she used almost exclusively for you,
I do not know that.
and the other phone she used for public or other people?
I assumed that, yes, but I do not know that. Those they were her phones.
So her regular phone is one. Is that fair?
Say that again.
She has a regular phone, and then she had this other phone.
I think they were pretty well both identical. So.
Okay. But you didn't give law enforcement the other phone number the first time, right?
I don't know. I mean, I did not. I mean, I don't know the phone numbers. They were all in my phones.
Now, at some point when you met with law enforcement during this, you and your attorney, Bobby Carter, met with them and cooperated. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then when you met with them, you actually agreed to record calls between you and the defendant. Is that right?
That is correct.
And they actually gave you a recorder to record calls. Is that correct?
They did.
And you would actually try to do that at certain points?
I tried.
You tried to record some calls with her. And
With
that's
the
because
recorder, yes.
it was told to you, not only by your attorney, but during the conversations, that it's in your best interest to do that?
Yes,
And you want to help yourself. Is that true?
absolutely.
But at some point, law enforcement had to come back to you and ask you about the recorder, didn't they?
They did.
And they had to ask you about the recorder because you actually told her about the recorder and recording the calls, right?
I did.
So let me get this straight. You want to help yourself because of the situation, and you agreed to record the phone calls with her, but you tell her you're recording the phone calls, right?
I did.
So she knew she was being recorded. Is that correct?
Well, she knew that I tried. I never was successful at it.
Yeah, she knew you were recording the calls, right?
I never was successful at it.
I understand that because you told her, but she knew she was being recorded, right?
I told her that I had a tape recorder that Detective Hayes gave me, and that I was told and asked to try to record our phone calls.
And in fact, there was a conversation between you two that she said, didn't you say they were recording calls? And you were telling her, no, you were lying to her.
That's right.
And then they gave you after they confronted you about the recorder, you weren't forthcoming to tell them, oh, by the way, I did tell her. You lied to them, didn't you?
I did.
You told them you weren't recording. You didn't tell her you had the recorder, right?
You're correct.
And then they had Coleos, the software on your phone that would record calls without having a recorder. Would that be fair?
Yes.
And you recorded a lot of those calls, right?
The way I understood how this worked, they put something on my telephone, and I mean, it was very odd the way it came through, but it came through, and then I would answer the phone, but at the same time, every phone call that I got from her through this system, also went directly to Detective Hayes.
Right.
And then I'm assuming was also recorded.
And counsel's going to ask you about those calls and what was recorded on those. But you agree with me that when they started doing the recordings on the Coleos, that system, that was after you told her about the recorder, right?
Yes. Yeah. We went to that system after we tried the tape recorder.
All right. Help me on this timeline. She's arrested June 18th, 2019. This calendar's not up there. June 18th, 2019. And then on June 25th, 2019, you come back to talk to law enforcement with your attorney to give some more information, right?
Okay, you lost me. Say that again.
The last conversation you had with law enforcement, the last recording, you recanted the statement you given earlier.
That was not the last time that I was with law enforcement. That was the next to the last time, I think.
Okay. In June of 2019, after the defendant was arrested,
Right.
You did have a conversation with law enforcement. Is that correct?
Yes, I think they came back the next week.
Okay. That next week, when you're talking to law enforcement, getting back to phones, did they not ask you if you ever met with a defendant in person and talked around the phones? Do you remember that?
I do.
And you told them, yes, we did meet in person and we did talk around the phones, right?
Correct.
So y'all were outside of law enforcement talking about the case so they couldn't hear it. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
And then they just took one more step and they asked you, did you have new phones? I call them burners. You may not like that term, but they asked you if you had other phones. Is that true?
Yes, it is.
And they asked you, did you talk about the case outside of the other phones that we had that we can listen to? And you said, yeah.
Yes.
So is it not true that you were telling her the recording, I'm talking to him, don't say anything that can incriminate
No,
yourself?
that's not true.
It's not true.
I didn't say that.
Not one time.
No, sir.
It wasn't even implied one time.
Nope.
So why are you having these other phones to talk outside of the phone calls?
I wanted to make her comfortable so I could find out if there was anything that wasn't known.
You want to make her comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have.
That don't even make sense. Boo, 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 boo. I had to get that out of my system. This man is getting on my nerves. Rusty, oh my God.
To go buy these other burner phones so law enforcement didn't know that y'all were talking?
Correct.
You agree that's suspicious, right?
Of course it is.
And you're doing it, correct?
I did.
With a woman charged with murder and burning her own husband, right?
I wanted to know.
But you didn't tell law enforcement until they pulled it out of you, right?
You're not going to put a banner up. I tried to find out. I wanted to know.
I'm going to come back to some of these phone calls. But I want to talk about when you were, let me try to step it back and lower things just a little bit. You need a restroom?
No, but I could use some water.
Oh, sure. Do we have
Baby, Rusty didn't got parts. All that line, they made him dry mouth. All that two-facedness, all that throwing on under the bus,
Thank you.
all that snitching got him parched.
You go about. I was gonna say let's go about 10 more minutes and take a break. So
It's gonna be a while.
I know, but I'm sure the other folks want a break. You need one? You want a break? No. Oh, you're good. Okay. All right.
Oh,
Finally,
wait.
we're ready to go.
I hope his toupee fall off on his ass in the middle of telling on her.
Okay.
When you were in the relationship with the defendant, you did or have some future plans to be together?
It was talked about. No plans.
No plans?
No plans.
None.
No specific plans.
Did the defendant tell you that Gary was sick?
Yes.
Tell the jury what she told you, what ailment he had.
My understanding was it was esophageal cancer.
Throat cancer.
Yes,
And you had somebody, a friend, a young man that had died from that?
that's correct.
What did she describe he would do because of this? What things would happen to him?
He would throw up blood.
She'd have to change the sheets and things like that?
Yeah, I'm assuming, yeah.
I mean, did she
I
tell you
don't,
she'd
I don't
have to do
remember
that?
that specifically, but yeah.
Did she tell you she'd have to take care of him because he was throwing up?
Yes,
And she'd have to clean it up?
yes.
And it was really bad?
I don't remember the extremity of it, but
Well, was there the thought that she told you that he could die
yes.
and that it could be soon?
Again, I don't remember a time frame on it, but
All right.
Yeah.
But you did have a plan that when he died from a natural death, that y'all would hang out for about 6 months and see how things went before you started dating or getting together.
that number was said. It was actually a response to actually Detective Hayes.
So that was a plan, 6 months or so, to see how it went.
It's not a plan. It was just a speculation, but a spot.
But you did that to let things settle after Gary passed, right? That was the plan.
It was not a plan. There was not a lot of detail about it. And the 6 month came, I repeated what Detective Hayes had said.
And you said that was so the family could see how the family responded to the relationship. Is that true?
I don't know. Did I say that?
That's what I'm asking. Do you remember saying
I
that?
don't know. I don't recall that.
Do you recall searching for wedding bands on the internet?
I do.
What type of wedding bands did y'all have in mind? Let's not say a plan, but what type of idea did y'all have and what type of wedding bands did y'all want?
We talked about plain gold bands.
To the degree that you would have these wedding bands, even if you weren't married, you would kind of go through the motions and hold yourself out like that, right?
Correct.
You don't think that's a plan?
I don't think it's a hardcore plan.
You just don't want to say plan, right?
That's your words, not mine.
No, sir. You had plans for wedding bands, and you searched for wedding bands, right?
I did search for wedding bands.
In fact, in June 28, 2018, you were searching for wedding bands for her, right?
Probably. Could have been Christina, but probably. Because I also looked up black diamonds too.
So it could have been for Christina?
Sir?
For Christina?
Did you see that?
When you talked to law enforcement, the first time you talked to was July 7th, 2018 with the TBI. Do you remember that one?
It was not July 7th.
July 6th. I apologize. July 6th, that Friday?
Yes.
So on July 6th of 2018, you talked to the TBI. Agent Simmons, Agent Williams.
I remember the name Agent Simmons. I do not remember the lady agent's name.
Describe the agents for us. We've met them today, but describe, what do you remember about them?
I don't know, very, very professional. She, towards the end, she came across a little hard, but Simmons was very professional and very, not a problem at all. And I think there was a Coffee County Sheriff's deputy there too.
Oh, was it?
I think so.
And then the second time was July 10th of 2018. I think y'all met at your attorney's office. Is that right?
That's right.
And the TBI agents were there, but also sheriff's office, Detective Hayes, Detective Pope.
Yes. Not Coffee County.
Right, but from Cherokee County.
Yes.
And they came up on July 10th.
Yes, I think that's right.
So what day is this? Is that Tuesday?
Tuesday. Yes.
All right, so July 6th is Friday and then Tuesday. So those are the first two times that you talked to law enforcement about the murder. Is that right?
Right.
And those were, the first one was not very long, but the 10th, I think y'all talked for hours. Is that correct?
Every one of them seemed like hours.
Long to you, were they not?
Yes, they were.
Very uncomfortable?
Yes.
Don't want to do it again?
Ever.
But you weren't forthcoming in all your answers, were you?
I didn't know my name.
But you knew enough to talk for several hours, though. Would you agree with that?
I don't think I talked for several hours.
But you did give
I
information.
might have been questioned for several hours, but I don't think I talked for several hours.
You did give information each time you talked to them, right?
I'm assuming I did.
And you didn't tell the whole truth in the beginning, did you?
Don't think so.
Well, you know you didn't tell the truth.
No.
It's a lot easier if you just come out and say it. You didn't, you go with the TBI, how they treated you. You didn't necessarily like how the sheriff's office treated you.
Correct.
And that was because the demeanor of Sergeant Pope.
That is true.
Tell the jury how he was with you.
Very aggressive, vulgar, pushy, finger stuck up to my nose. I would back up. He would pull forward. I would back up. He would pull forward. Did that 3 times once. I had to ask him. Actually, I think I asked Detective Hayes to have Pope leave the room.
And how big are you, sir?
Sir?
How tall and how much do you weigh at the time in 2018?
Well, 6'3". I'm assuming that I'm still 6'3" and was then. I don't know. I'm probably in the 250 range.
Around 250. I think you went to the doctor and weighed one morning about 240 something. But do you remember what size Sergeant Pope was?
I wouldn't classify him as a great big fella.
And he never hit you, did he?
No, he never did hit
He
me.
never put a finger on you, did he?
He was very close. So I don't know if he touched me or not.
Well, I mean, he shook your hand, I assume, that day.
Well, yeah, but that's different.
But he didn't
I
threaten to
think you're
hurt you.
I think you're talking aggression.
Sure, he didn't threaten to hurt you or strike you or harm you or anything like that.
No.
Just was bad cop.
Yes.
I mean, got to cussing at you.
Yes.
Talked about death penalty, things
Yes.
like that. Talked about murder cases, right?
Mhm.
Put the fear in you. Fair to say?
Mm-hmm.
You're doing pretty good. You're going to say yes or no.
Sir?
You're going to say yes or no. Not.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I should know that.
Sorry.
It's all right.
You
You've done
don't-
pretty good until now.
Yeah, you don't do this every day. I mean, at one point he talks about the serious nature of the case and they expose you to how serious of a case this is. Is that fair?
Yes.
And do you understand when someone's murdered and then burned, that is aggravating under the law? That is very serious.
Do not know the terminology, but it is serious. Yes.
Would you agree murder is one thing, but then burning the body is also adding to that?
Of course. Yes.
So we're not talking about jaywalking or speeding. This is serious. And at one point they came with, I guess, fake arrest warrants or some type of warrants for you for two charges.
There was a arrest warrant given to me. I just immediately gave it to my attorney.
Right. A physical piece of paper,
Correct.
but not have been issued into the computer or signed by a judge. They just said, here's the things we're looking at with you,
The
right?
way I understood that it was an unsigned arrest warrant.
And do you remember what those charges were?
I do not.
Conspiracy and then concealing. Do you remember?
No, sir, I do not.
But you do remember they presented you with an arrest warrant.
Correct.
You didn't like that, did you?
Well, no, I was scared to death.
Sure. Your attorney, Bobby Carter, after July 6th, so I think it's going to be July 10th of 2018, July 24th of 2018, and then June 25th of 2019. When you met, your attorney was with you during the whole time, right? Outside the first time.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, and he's a good guy, very smart guy, right?
Bobby?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, a good man.
Yes.
And he's actually a judge up there now, correct?
Correct.
So he knows what he's doing, right?
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, you trusted him, correct?
I do.
You relied on him, right?
Yes.
And he would give you advice when this was going on, saying, I think this is in your best interest, or this is in your best interest, right?
It was, yes.
And that was putting on your mind of, I need to do some of these things, correct?
Yes.
So he was advising what he thought was in their best interest, and you agreed and did things for law enforcement, right?
We put a tap on my phone.
In fact, do you remember that during some of these meetings with law enforcement, y'all would be getting at it, and you'd have to stop and go out and meet with Bobby, and then y'all would meet and confer, and you come back in, and then y'all would talk more. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Because he'd have to talk to you, give you information, and then you would come and do certain things, right?
Bobby would try to calm me down.
Sure. I mean, an example would be Ashley Pope confronted you about, where's your phone? If you're innocent, can we go through your phone? And you hesitated, correct?
I do not recall.
Do you remember going out, getting the phone after talking to your attorney, and then giving them the phone so they could try to dump the contents?
I do remember us giving them my phone and them trying to dump it in some electronic box there at Bobby's, and it didn't work.
But you had left your phone in the car when you were meeting with law enforcement. Is that right?
I don't recall.
Now, during these meetings, some of them were just long. They were just long meetings, right?
Yes.
And you've had an opportunity to listen to some of these meetings?
Some of them, yes.
You go back and try to remember as much as you can, correct?
I tried.
And they can get aggressive. Y'all can get at it. Both sides. And Pope could go at you pretty good.
I don't remember both sides getting aggressive, but yes. Pope.
Oh, that's fair. Sergeant Pope could get aggressive with you.
Correct.
But they were pushing you because they felt like you weren't telling them everything. Is that
Yes.
fair?
Uh-huh.
And you were not telling them everything, right? You were holding
Well,
back.
I didn't, yeah.
Yeah. But then at the same time, did you listen to it? Could you hear? Y'all sit around and ate candy together. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all, I mean, I know you don't like watermelon because you didn't want watermelon during these meetings, correct?
Correct.
So during these heated meetings and when things are getting fierce, y'all could at the next moment get together and eat candy. So it just went up and down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Judge, this is a good. Just can stop here.
Stay right. We'll take 10. You can step down. I'll get them to refill it. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Damn, Melody took out of there, took off, didn't she?
I leave. You take that out. Just leave it here.
Yeah, I think I just got tricked into paying $15 for a hug. You know what I'm saying? You know, I think I just got bamboozled. Yeah, you know, I think I got bamboozled real quickly. So, did y'all see how fast Melody got up and ran out that court? She couldn't take it no more. I know, OG Wu Child. It wasn't until after the fact. I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, wait a minute. Did you just bribe me or something? He drinking that water like it's Crown, right? Yeah, I guess that was a bargain, right, Tiki? Melody has found some shit out today. She's ready to unalive. Hey, 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 hey. And Renee, you tried to slip that in. You tried to slip that in on me, Judge D-Lit. You almost got away with it, okay? No. From Minnesota, he did the girl. I'm finna say he did, Demetri. He did. So all your kids is there now. I bet he wish there was some Crown in that cup. I wonder no, she was still free. That's how she was able to get up, lady stuff, and run up out of there. You know, now the daytime trial, which we will be getting a verdict on tomorrow probably, but the daytime trial, she actually is still in custody because she in jail in the federal penitentiary. But Melody free, but nah. Out on bond. Melody hauled ass, okay?
All right, go ahead.
And we're back. Everyone calm down. Everyone calm down.
Talk about the interviews themselves. I have July 6th of 2018, I think it's a Friday. July 10th, 2018, which is a Tuesday. And then July 24th, 2018 is a Tuesday. And then August 2nd, 2018 is a Thursday, and June 25th, 2019. Do you have anything to write with, sir? Do you have anything to write with there or anything?
No, sir. I got paper, but what? I got one.
Now approach you to give a legal pad.
Sure. Yeah. Oh. That's not good.
All right, for defense counsel, the dates again are July 6, 2018. It's a Friday. July 10th, 2018. July 10th, 2018 is a Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
July 24th, 2018, I think is a Tuesday. August 2nd, 2018, a Thursday. June 25th, 2019, which is a Tuesday. All right, so I'm going to begin with July 6th, 2018.
Okay.
Do you remember that to be meeting, I think, was it at your house with the TBI agents?
Daughter's house, but
Daughter's
that's where I was living, so yes.
What do you remember about them showing up?
I was there alone upstairs in my bedroom. Heard, I don't remember, doorbell, knock on the door, dogs barking, something. Came out, I can look down onto the foyer and I could see several people walking away down the sidewalk. So I ran down the stairs and around through the kitchen and out into the garage and opened up the big garage door, and because they were out in the parking area.
And did you let them in your house to talk to you?
I did.
And did y'all have how would you describe the conversation?
Pleasant, professional. It was fine.
Did you know why they were there?
Well, not initially, but they told me.
What do you remember them asking you why, or saying why they were there?
They just said that, asked me, did I know Gary and Melody Farris? And I said I did, and that they were, I don't remember exactly how it was worded, but basically that they were investigating a murder, and that Gary had been murdered, and then there was an attempt for a cover-up, and they just wanted to talk to me about my whereabouts.
What, do you remember them asking you when was the last time that you talked to Melody?
I do not remember that, but
Do you remember them asking whether it was a day ago, a week ago, a month ago, or a year ago? Do you remember that phraseology?
I think it was something like that, yes.
Do you remember saying maybe a week?
Well, I listened to the tape that you gave me, so yes.
Okay. So your answer on that day was the last time you talked to her was maybe a week.
Correct.
But you do agree with me, if you look at the calendar there, is it not true that on, you got July the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, Tuesday the 3rd going into Wednesday the 4th, you agree with me that there were 3 main phone calls that you had with the defendant that night going into the next day?
I do.
Why didn't you tell them about those?
I don't know.
They asked you when was the last time you saw her in person. Do you remember what your answer was?
I do not.
If it was last summer or last year, do you remember saying that?
I do not remember what I said. No, sir.
Let me ask you today, going back on that, they're at your house on July 6, 2018. When was the last time you physically saw the defendant?
I do not recall.
You have any idea? I know you're saying you don't recall, but do you have any idea?
No, sir. But you do, so you can tell me.
You said you listened to the recording. Do you remember after they told you Gary had been murdered and they were asking you questions about Melody? Do you remember pausing for quite some time and then saying, I don't know what I should be telling you?
I remember hearing that.
So you wouldn't dispute if you heard yourself say that you did do that?
I wouldn't dispute anything that there's a recording of.
Why did you say, I don't know what I should be telling you? Why did you hesitate to tell law enforcement about the defendant?
I'm being interviewed by the TBI for a murder that I know nothing about. You don't say nothing.
Did you do the murder?
No, sir.
Where were you in July 3rd, 4th, and 5th of 2018?
You should have a copy of that chart that I made that tells, and I have a copy of it, but I don't have it with me.
I just want you to tell the jury where
I
were
was
you
in,
at.
Tullahoma, my area.
Law enforcement got receipts and your phone records and
Yes.
showed you were not in Georgia, correct?
Correct. Even grocery receipts.
I think a video showing you getting groceries or something.
Sir,
A video showing you getting groceries?
Detective Hayes knows what my pasta salad recipe is now.
So if you didn't have anything to do with the actual murder, again, what would hesitate you to tell them what you did know?
If you don't know what you're talking about, keep your mouth shut.
But we've already established that you talked to the defendant over the 3rd and 4th for 3 phone calls, right?
Yes,
One of those was about 2 o'clock in the morning.
I think approximately. I don't know exactly.
Why did you give the defendant a credit card?
Because occasionally she said Gary would cut the credit cards off, and I didn't want her to just be stranded and not be able to, get gas or something to eat.
In 2018, in July, when they talked to you, were you still in a relationship with the defendant?
Yes,
Still sexual in nature?
Yes. But at that point, we had not seen each other in quite some time. This thing is echoing.
It's okay. But you were still having the affair, still ongoing.
We were still talking.
I think we argue over words. You were still in the same relationship you had been with her, right?
Just not physical.
She had your credit card,
She did.
still talking every day, sometimes twice a day.
Yes.
And pardon me, but during those conversations, y'all would talk about sex and everything else.
That's true.
Sounds like a relationship, right?
Not arguing that. No, I'm not. I'm not trying to. Yeah.
How much did the defendant like to clean?
A lot.
Is she a neat freak?
Yes.
Do you remember one of her friends by the name of Sherry?
Yes.
Did she spell her name differently?
Yes.
How does Sherry spell her name?
Don't know. I just remember that it was different.
It was different than normally spelled.
Yes.
Who was Sherry? Who is Sherry?
Just a friend of hers. I don't really know where Sherry came into the picture at, or even where she lived.
Did Sherry go to Emily's wedding?
Yes.
How close of friends were the defendant and Sherry?
At the time, pretty close.
Do you know how they would spend their time together?
No, not really. I mean, I know they spent time together, but I don't know what all they would do.
Did you go to Jamaica with the defendant?
I did.
When was that?
September of 17,
How long did y'all go?
about a week.
Where'd y'all go? What, do you remember the name of the resort?
Hito.
Excuse me?
Hito.
Hito? And do you know if the defendant has Sherry do anything with a credit card?
No, I don't know that.
What did she tell her children where she was at?
I don't know. Like I said, she could come and go as she pleased, so I don't, that was,
She could even go to Jamaica for 10 days or so and not question her whereabouts?
I'm assuming.
But you don't know what she said to her children? Again, I'm sorry, you're going to have to say yes or no.
I'm sorry. No.
I can see you, but for the
I'm
record.
sorry.
That's all right.
No, I do not know what she said to them.
But was it a special occasion that y'all went to Jamaica?
It might have been my birthday.
Who paid for it?
I did.
All right. July 10th, I'm going to move to that. So the next interview, July 10th of 2018. This is with the Sheriff's Office, Hayes and Pope, for the first time.
Okay.
When they came up and you met at the office, how did it start out?
I do not recall.
Do you remember reaching out to them through your attorney that you wanted to talk?
Do I remember reaching out to my attorney that?
Did y'all initiate the conversation with law enforcement?
I'm not understanding what you're asking.
Who asked who to come and talk? Did y'all ask the Sheriff's Office to come and talk?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yes.
And that was because you wanted to correct some lies that you said or deception?
Phone number.
Tell the jury about that.
Whatever phone number I had given, one of the phone numbers that I had given was incorrect, and I called Bobby Carter, my attorney, and told him, I said, I think I've got the right phone number, and and I think he actually called and gave it to the TBI agent, and then they came up at that point, and then to meet us.
And it was during this interview that you finally told them about the other phone.
I'm assuming, I don't.
Did the defendant tell you that Gary had moved out for quite some time? That they had separated and he moved out?
I think that was like years before. I don't know any details on that at all.
When it came to what you knew of,
You're asking, did Melody move out, or did
no,
Gary?
did Melody tell you that Gary had moved out of the home?
I do not remember that at all. No, sir.
When it came to the control of finances between the defendant and Gary, who controlled the finances?
According to her, Gary did.
And how, to what degree did he, according to her, control the finances?
100%.
But was she able to buy things or have things?
Anything she wanted.
Do you know why he controlled the money?
I do not.
Did you know about Ted Wiley?
I did.
She never said that Gary had ever abused her, physically done anything to her?
No.
Do you remember Sergeant Pope kind of giving you at one point during the interview on the 10th, he starts talking to you about goodwill and vibes, or good vibes. Do you remember that?
I do not.
Do you remember anything where Sergeant Pope kind of kicked it up a gear to try to get you to give more information?
I remember that he did that. I don't remember specifically when.
And do you know why he was doing that? What was it that you were doing that made him start pushing you more?
I have no idea.
Do you remember Elizabeth Williams from the TBI? You were asked the question, who bought the defendant's other phone? I call burner, you say other. Should they press you on, did you buy that phone? Do you remember your initial response?
I do not.
Do you remember admitting that you did buy the phone for her?
I do not.
Now, on July 10th, you haven't mentioned anything about the burn pile. Is that correct?
I don't know I don't know the time frame as to what was said when on that. I do not.
On July 10th, do you remember telling law enforcement that the last communication, not in person, but by text, that you had with the defendant was on July 5th when they were looking for Gary?
Yes.
Do you remember what that text was?
I think that's what it was. We're looking for Gary.
And respond ASAP?
You have it. I don't. I just remember.
No reason to disagree if that was the message.
No.
So the last time that you say that you talked to her was by that text on the 5th, the morning of the 5th, right?
Yes.
So you might just have one. The second one, yeah. We'll get you the page. All right. At one point, law enforcement asked you when Gary was on the 10th, when Gary had been murdered, they asked you about a motive. And they asked you who has the most to gain out of this. Who did you say had the most to gain out of the death of Gary?
I don't recall.
In that context, they were asked about Chad Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember telling law enforcement that Melody loves him to death?
I don't remember it, but you
Well,
obviously.
let me ask you independently. How does the defendant feel about Chad Bruce?
I think at the time she did.
Was Amanda's fiance at the time?
I don't know if they were engaged then or
But
not.
you know who that is, right?
Yes,
And you know who Amanda is?
I do.
And they're married now?
Yes.
And during this process, after the defendant was arrested, you met with Amanda quite some times, right?
They came up and got stuff from Martha out of the car. Yeah,
Talked to her on the phone or by text message?
I'm assuming. Yeah.
Chad also?
Yes.
You don't remember who bought the burner phone, the second phone? You don't remember whether or not you told law enforcement you did or didn't?
You've lost me.
Okay.
Start
You
again.
don't-
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Y'all are getting outrageous. Y'all are getting outrageous. Order. I demand order in the jury box. Y'all are getting absolutely outrageous. Melody is innocent, even if she proven guilty. Okay? I'm gonna need for y'all to calm down. Are we gonna have to call in the alternates? I see y'all. I don't know what the bailiff doing right now. I don't know why the bailiff haven't escorted y'all out to the hallway. Okay? Living, you gonna have to step up for Winter. Tiki, y'all don't see what's going on up here. Order! In other news, I'm gonna end the poll. The poll says, what? Why is it still going? Hold on. I meant to hit pause. Okay, so I'm gonna close down the poll. The poll said, what do you think Rusty's involvement in unaliving Gary Farris? Option 1, nothing to do with it at all, 23%. Option 2, knew she was going to do it, 69%. And apparently, not only are y'all out of order, y'all don't even understand that he snuck down to the farm and did it with Scott. It appears with that 8%, I'm the only one who knows what's going on. Okay. Now, order in the court. Oh, Lord. Melody girl, they turning on you. They turning on you.
The second phone that Melody had, the question was asked, who bought it? Do you remember what your answer was?
I do not.
Judge, may I approach the witness to refresh his recollection?
If you prefer, Jeff, you can have my copy of it.
So let's see if you can see the screen there.
What am I looking at?
Talking about the phone. Read that line there.
This was my words.
Yep.
Says
Just read it to yourself. Now I ask you.
I will say yes.
I'm sorry. Read to yourself. It's just a legal rule. Just read it to yourself.
Okay.
Does that refresh your recollection of what your answer was? Who bought the second phone of hers?
I'm assuming that's what I said. So.
All right. The way the rule works is they show you or is that better? They either show you or play you your statement.
Yes, sir.
All right. The question is, does that refresh your recollection? Does that make it come back to you anew that that's what your conversation was? If your answer is yes, then you can say, yes, I remember, and that's what I said. If it doesn't refresh your memory as to what you said, then you say, no, that does not refresh my memory as to what was said. All right.
Now here's my question again. Who bought her second phone?
I do not know.
Just note that. It's 42 minutes and 27 seconds. How much money did the defendant know that Gary would have in his ATM or bank account at times, like a month?
It varied.
And how much would he have?
I mean, it could be anywhere from a few hundred to a few $1,000s.
Was there times that there would be $40,000 deposited in the account, and then the next day, most of it would be Gary would move it to something else,
That sounds familiar. Yes.
and that he would have $500,000 to $600,000 a year that he would make?
Yes.
All right, I want to turn now to July 24th, 2018. Law enforcement comes back and meets with you again. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that because your attorney and you want to clarify something?
I do not recall that.
When they met with you, where did y'all meet again? Was it Bobby's office?
Yes, sir.
And that was about 2 to 3 hour meeting with them. Does that sound about right?
I do not know.
Do you remember at some point that during the meeting that you had to take a break with Bobby and go out and do some more talking?
Yes.
And that was because they were pressing you with information. Is that right?
Correct.
Pope didn't believe that you were telling him everything, and Hayes didn't believe that you were giving him all the information about those phone calls on the 3rd or the early morning of the 4th around 2 a.m., right?
Right.
They didn't believe that you were telling them everything that was said on those phone calls. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And they were pushing you to give more information.
Yes.
And because of that, you had to go stop and go talk to your attorney because you did have more information that you ended up telling them, right?
I stopped to go talk to my attorney because I was flipping out.
And after talking to the attorney, you did come back in and give them more information. Is that correct?
I came back in and told them something, yes.
I mean, you walked back in, right?
I did.
You opened your mouth and you told them the words, correct?
I did.
They didn't have to pull it out of you. You actually said what was going on.
Well, it's a matter of opinion as to pull it out of me when you are threatened the way I was.
And in your presence, Bobby, you were explaining that you were loyal to the defendant, correct?
I do not remember saying that, but
But you were there when your attorney was talking. Is that true?
Yes.
Right before.
Well, I think he talked to them without me, but now I could not swear to that one for sure. But I think they talked some without me.
At some point, though, you come back in and it's you sitting there with your attorney, Detective Hayes is there, and Sergeant Pope's there. Is that true?
That's correct.
And now you're ready to come back and give them more information that you had not told them, right?
I'm ready to walk in and tell them something.
And you're going to tell them about a conversation that you had with the defendant on July 4th around 2 or 2:30 in the morning. Is that correct?
Correct.
In fact, you said it was the last part of the last conversation in that night. Is that right?
That's right.
And it was about Gary being in the burn pile.
That's what I said.
Tell the jury what you said the defendant told you during that conversation on July 4th, 2018.
I said that she said that this is not going to be word for word, but that she said that Gary was on the burn pile. And I said, what? And she said, Gary was on the burn pile. And I said, don't say nothing else to me. Something like that.
Liar.
Would it refresh your recollection you can't remember the exact words?
No, sir.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at something to see if it does?
You're welcome to show it to me.
Judge, may I approach? I'll tell you, it's 1 hour, 31 minutes.
Objection sustained. I object too. Here's a transcript of the recording. Now here's the rule. Everybody missed step
I'm gonna
219.
hand it to you where it says R. Barton. Read it to yourself. I know. Read it to yourself, and then I'm going to ask you some questions. Don't read it aloud.
Go ahead. You go ahead and read it. What is the recording from?
And the recording is July 24th, 2019.
Interview?
It's an interview with the TBI and the sheriff's office.
All right, so this is a
Transcript of that.
That's where I'm going. Who prepared it?
We had a contract for the office prepared.
Y'all paid someone to do it.
Yes. And Judge, what I would also,
It is a transcription.
It is not.
I have called it an interpolation. It is not a transcript. It is not a court transcript. It is not done by deposition, sworn under oath, in court, anything of that nature. Correct? So when we all, so I'm just saying, so when they're going to refer to it as a transcript because that's what they're used to calling things where people take down what people say and spit it out in a written format. But it is not a transcript to the extent that it is a deposition or certified court testimony. This is what someone who was paid to listen to the recording typed out and prepared and gave to the district attorney's office. All right.
Does that refresh your recollection?
Somewhat.
Just this time, if I can have the jury step out and play it for him outside their presence.
I'll step out for a minute.
I have to say that his whole testimony should be thrown out because he was battered, beaten, tased, threatened, water tortured by the police in order to get this testimony. Okay. At this moment in time, I am convinced that he is giving this testimony out of duress. Look at him drinking that water. Okay.
For defense counsel, this is going to be from Rusty.
Exactly,
I
Tiki.
think it says Rusty and has his interviews.
Exactly.
This is going to be
Why they can't see what we see?
for Rory Barton 072418. I'm going to label it as Barton 1. And it is a recording. It's not that one.
Move the calendar forward, Megan. Yeah, it's fine.
It's 2 hours and 32 minutes and 4 seconds long. I'm going to cue it up at 1 hour, 31 minutes and 44 seconds.
What they about to play? A jail thing? Ooh. Oh my God. Melody, don't say nothing crazy, Melody. I'm rooting for you, Melody. Hearsay. All that. We fighting for you, Melody girl. I'm gonna be at your retrial. We gonna be at your retrial front and center. Okay. Period, point blank. And I'm taking names of everybody who anti-Melody. And we will have alternates in their seats. Blue. I gotta find me some Melody person.
I'm going to start at 1 hour, 31 minutes and 13 seconds.
Okay, I'm gonna be quiet.
So, Judge, I tender Barton 1 into evidence this time just as an exhibit. I'm not tendering into the case in front of the jury.
Right. All right, go ahead.
All right, sir, I'm going to play this. Let me know if you can hear it, okay?
Is that
Absolutely not.
I want you to, could you maybe diagnose?
Oh Lord, we
the
got.
first call that,
Hold on. We got another Melody detractor just fell out the clouds. Welcome to the Lynn Lane Jury Box, Jessica. Girl, I have to remember I'm supposed to be welcoming to new people. You almost got me caught up, Jessica. Oh Lord, Jessica, welcome. Welcome. Hopefully you change your mind before the end of this. Melody need all the help she can get. Thank you for coming and supporting. I won't hold that against you.
be an interest to us, not the time or anything about what
I
happened.
think there was only one conversation that is what you're looking for.
Okay,
Okay.
okay,
And it was the last conversation.
okay.
And
It would be safe to say there wasn't much talking after that.
no, that was the end of the
Okay.
conversation.
Okay,
And
so,
is that the last time you've spoken with her? No.
Because I talked to her, I talk to her every day, but again, every day was just
Yeah.
every day.
So when let's talk about that conversation that you feel.
So probably the last minute of the last conversation, she said, Gary is in the burn pile. No, she said, he is in the burn pile. And I said, what? And she said, he's in the burn pile. And I said, do not say another word and do not tell me anything. I do not need to know.
Okay.
And that is everything,
That you
period,
discussed with her.
period.
She didn't say anything about
Nothing before,
else.
nothing since. When I talked to her after that, it was, it was just like it was portrayed to y'all. We're looking for Gary and.
Did she say, okay, so there was we ain't gonna get the time.
I stopped it at 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 44 seconds. So having listened to your statement about the burn pile, can you tell me in your own words what you said?
I said, she said he was in the burn pile.
Can you give me the whole couple of sentences that you said?
And I said, what? And she said, he's in the burn pile. And I said, don't tell me anymore. I don't need to know.
So you can't fully remember? You
No.
can't say it verbatim?
No, sir.
Was your memory at the time that you said it to law enforcement in July 24th, 2018, was your memory the best at that time when you said it?
No, sir.
I mean, was it better then than it is now?
No, sir.
Do you agree that what you heard you say, that was you saying it?
Yes, sir.
And that was inaccurate? What you said is what you said to law enforcement.
It is what I said.
Judge, I'm going to play this statement under past recollection.
What's the discrepancy from what you just testified to?
Well, he can't say everything verbatim, and also it's a prior inconsistent statement that I'll be playing later on.
What's inconsistent about it?
Well, no, when we get to his,
He's going to get to something that he
right,
says.
then I'm going to play it then, so I was just going to go ahead and play it now. I can wait to then.
I mean, I don't know what's inconsistent at the moment in what he's saying or why you need to introduce a statement, because he has essentially said that's what he told the cops.
Judge, there's two lines of thought here. Prior inconsistent statement under 24-6-6-13.
What's the inconsistency?
It's not there yet. The one is that,
Then.
no, Judge, the inconsistency
Is upcoming because he says it was a different conversation on a different day.
Sconiers v. State, S24A-0139, April 30th, 2024. The failure of a witness to remember making a statement, like the witness's flat denial of that statement, may provide the foundation.
He has not flatly denied making the statement. He
And I-
substantially adopted what was said in the conversation that you just played. So why is there a need to play it?
One, because when a witness says, I can't remember, that's a prior inconsistent statement.
You've
Two,
now confronted him with the statement and he has adopted it.
right, and so he has to, when the jury comes out, he's going to have to be able to say the whole statement. He's not going to be able to do that.
What is inconsistent with what he just said on the stand just now from what he said in the recording?
I'm not on the inconsistency, Your Honor. It's past recollection recording.
You have refreshed his memory. He knows what he said.
Right.
He just said what he said. You're saying there's 3 words different. What's the issue there?
One, precision. I think it matters that they hear the exact words. I think that's an important thing, Your Honor. I don't think a
Well,
word
you
off
can
your-
cross-examine him. Isn't it true that you said, and you can say it to him, and then he can say, yes, that's what I said, or no, that's not what I said.
You're just not going to let me. I'm just not going to be able to play it under this.
There's no reason to play it at this point.
Well, then I'll move on, Judge.
All right.
Well, he just got handled. Why did it look like
Ready.
that?
Okay, bring him back in.
Uh-oh, why that weirdo on the back standing up? He the only one standing up.
Can we pull that down?
You have him under a cross. You can ask him, isn't it true that these were your exact words?
I understand, Judge, and I will do that.
All right.
The court's ruled. I'll follow the ruling. Mr. Barton, on July 24th, 2018, while meeting with your attorney who was present and Detective Hayes and Sergeant Pope, after they had to take a break to get you to give more information that you did not originally give, you told them that the defendant, probably the last minute of the last conversation, she said, Gary is in the burn pile. No, she said, he is in the burn pile. And I said, what? And she said, he's in the burn pile. And I said, do not say another word and do not tell me anything. I do not need to know. Those were your words to law enforcement in July the 24th of 2018. Is that true?
Yes.
And then afterwards, you said, that is everything, period, correct?
Yes.
And you also told law enforcement, did you not, that if I'm going to give an ounce, I'm going to give a pound, right?
I don't recall that, but
Would you dispute it?
no, I would not.
And you made it clear several times after telling them that she told you Gary was in the burn pile, that that's everything she said and that's what happened, correct?
Yes.
And at the time that she made the statement to you that you said she said on July 4th, about 2 o'clock in the morning, Gary had not been reported missing yet. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Now, in July, when you gave this statement to law enforcement, you did mention something about taking some Advil PM or Tylenol PM. Do you remember saying that?
I do.
But you never said about being afraid or terrified that you couldn't, because you were so scared from what was going on that you couldn't say what happened. Isn't that true?
I don't know what you're at. I don't know what you're saying.
In July 2018, July 24th of 2018, when you told law
During this
enforcement,
conversation,
yes,
yes.
you never mentioned I'm scared and I need to, that wasn't right what I just said. You never said I was scared, did you?
Not to law enforcement.
Right. You never told them you were scared, did you?
Not to law enforcement.
There's not going to be a recording of you saying I was scared and that's why I said what I said.
True.
And that night that you said about the defendant telling you that he's in the burn pile, you never came back and said, I need to recant that this night, did you? You know, in July of 2018, you never came back and said, I need to recant that. That was wrong.
Not in July of 2018.
Correct. You didn't do that, did you?
I did not.
And you didn't do that. You actually didn't recant until your statement in June of 2019. Isn't that true?
That is true.
And in June 25th of 2019, I want to turn to that one. Melody was just arrested with you in her presence in the vehicle, right?
Correct.
The week before. The
Correct.
18th, I believe.
I don't know the date, but yes.
And after she was arrested, a couple of days later, you then get in contact with law enforcement and want to tell them something. Is that true?
I don't recall if we contacted them to get them to come back or if they just came back.
But you wanted to tell them, you wanted to recant the statement you gave about Gary
I did.
being on the burn pile.
I did.
So you got with them and you want to tell them that I want to recant this,
Correct.
retract it, right?
Yes.
And when you met with them in June the 25th of 2019, your attorney was with you. Is that correct?
Yes.
And Sergeant Pope was there. Is that correct? Detective Hayes and Sergeant Pope?
I'm going to say yes, but I couldn't. Yeah, I'll say yes.
Well,
I'm not 1,000% sure.
Was law enforcement from Cherokee County there?
They were.
And they came up to Tennessee to meet with you, right?
Yes.
And you were meeting at your attorney's office, correct?
Yes.
And you were there for the purpose because you wanted to tell them or clarify something. Is that correct?
Again, I don't know if they came up to see me or if we requested them to come up. I do not recall who set the meeting.
So on this meeting in June of 2019, after the defendant's been arrested and you were with her and all that, what did you tell law enforcement that what was wrong with the first statement about being on the burn pile? How did you retract that? What did you say?
Well, I don't have the verbatim, and that seems to be important, but basically what I said was, what I told you was correct, but when it happened was not correct.
So what you said is she did say those words to me, but it was
Yes.
just a different date?
Yes.
And so what date did you say that she told you that Gary was in the burn pile?
I don't know that I set a date. I just said that I had gone to Martha's house. Martha had told me. And then while I was there, Melody had called and then she told me it.
You remember saying it could have been July 9th?
I do not know what day it was.
Well, looking at the calendar on the floor there, July 2018, you talked to the the sheriff's office with the TBI on July 10th of 2018. You agree with that, right?
Yes.
And then you talked to him again on July 24th of 2018. You agree with that, correct?
Yes.
And on July 24th, 2018, you tell them, Melody told me Gary's in the burn pile. I don't want to know about, don't want to talk about it, right?
Yes.
So you're saying that at some point you got the date wrong. Would it have been before the 24th?
Yes, it was before the 24th.
Was it closer to the 9th of July or a different date?
I don't think anything transpired on the 9th of July.
So tell us, what day did this conversation happen where the defendant said Gary's in the burn pile that you said is a different date from July 4th at 2 o'clock in the morning?
I do not know the date, but I do know that it happened after Detective Hayes and Sergeant Pope had been up, because after they left, I went to Martha's house, and that's when it was. So it would have been after that.
Right. After the defendant was arrested, you had an opportunity to talk with her while she was in the jail. Is that right?
I did.
And you were able to listen to some jail calls that I had to confirm that that was you on the jail calls. Is that right?
That's right.
It was you talking. Is that correct?
That's
It
correct.
was the defendant talking. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And they were fair and accurate recordings of your conversations with her while she had been arrested in this case. Is that right?
Yes.
Being here in Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, right?
I'm assuming so.
At the jail here in the county. And some of those times that she was in the jail, you talked to her about meeting and talking with Amanda and Chad. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you would actually check on Melody, ask her questions, or she would tell you stuff, and then you would go and talk to Amanda and Chad about things. Is that right?
I'm assuming yes.
And one of those meetings was on June 24th, 2019. Is that correct?
That was, you talking about a phone call?
Yes, phone call with the defendant.
Okay, there was a phone call most every day.
All right. So you agree that you had a conversation with her in jail on June 24th, 2019. Is that fair to say?
If you have it down, yes.
And June 24th of 2019, that's the day before you go and actually meet with law enforcement and, quote, recant your statement. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you remember the defendant telling you that you need to explain to Amanda about the chess match
Yes.
and ask you if you've been interviewed and you say, I'm going to be tomorrow by our two favorites? Do you remember
Yes.
saying that?
Mhm.
And that's because the next day you were going to go up and meet with them and Bobby, and that's when you recanted, correct?
I'm assuming yes.
Remember the defendant talking about, well, there has been a very well played orchestra in this,
Yes.
and tell Amanda about Chris. She would tell you to tell Amanda about things about Chris and Scott.
I remember hearing that on the recording, but I don't know what that meant.
June 26, 2019, do you remember in a jail call there that the defendant told you need to stress to Amanda that she needs to find out whatever kind of trouble Chris is in and have that dealt with?
Yes.
And that you need to explain to Amanda that there is a well-played orchestra?
Yes.
And you need to explain the chess match to her?
Yes.
And that she was supposed to meet with somebody and be interviewed? Do you remember that?
I don't remember that, but who was somebody? Sir.
That she was supposed to be interviewed either by an attorney or somebody in the case.
Okay. I don't know.
Now, I had you listen to in full 2 of the phone calls. Do you remember that?
You had me listen to a bunch of phone calls.
Do you remember that in July 5th of 2019, the defendant had a preliminary hearing? That was the one that was on TV that you watched. You remember that?
Yes.
You did watch it on TV, right?
Part of it. Yes.
And she wanted you to watch it. Is that correct?
Yes.
You listened to that July 5th, 2019 conversation that y'all had about the prelim. Was it a fair and accurate conversation that you had with the defendant?
Yes.
This time, Judge, I'm tendering to evidence calls 13. So July 5th, 2019 jail conversation.
No objection.
All right, submitted. Go ahead.
On the line. Hold for acceptance. To remain on the line. Hold for acceptance. This is a prepaid call from an inmate at a correctional facility. Three-way or call waiting is not allowed and may automatically disconnect this call. This call is also subject to being recorded or monitored, except your call has been accepted. Hey.
But, hey,
You okay?
no,
Did you watch it?
yes, watched it live.
Okay. Did you watch it with Bobby?
No, I didn't know it was going to be on until it was already going.
Okay.
And found it, but I sent it to him to watch.
Okay.
They didn't talk much. Bobby said they wouldn't have said that. They wasn't supposed to. Because it was recanted. It was said under duress, and they wasn't supposed to use it.
Right.
But there's a whole lot they left out, but I have not seen it all.
Well, I had a minute, Michael and I talked back and forth during it, and he talked to Amanda afterwards. And, It's okay.
I know they're devastated because all of us are. How are you?
I'm okay. Oh, you do need to call Amanda though. And
You sure?
explain. Do what?
You sure she'll talk to me?
Yeah. Michael talked to her afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah. And I talked to
Tell
her.
me what happened.
Do what?
You said explain to her what happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still a whole lot that don't make any kind of sense to me whatsoever.
Well, that's what Michael said.
I told them, I said, I've never been so afraid of anything in my entire life. I didn't know my name. And Bobby said, that happens all the time. Well, it ain't supposed to happen to me. And I should have better control of my faculty.
No, that's what trial's for.
Fear will do.
Do what?
So that's what fear will do.
True. So who watched it with you?
Nobody. I watched it by myself. I just pulled it up on the computer and I turned it on just right before they started talking about it. That's just, you know.
So can you go back and watch the entire thing then?
I think so. I haven't tried to yet. It's on that WSB TV Facebook page, and I don't know if you're not on Facebook if you can get into it or not.
Right. Well, see if Bobby can get you into it.
Yeah. Said it was about 2 hours. I thought it was over with, and then realized they had taken a 10-minute recess.
Correct.
Yeah. So I thought it was over with. I didn't see nothing after the recess.
Oh, okay. So you really need to watch that.
Okay. Well, I just a few minutes ago sent it to Bobby to tell him where he could find it so he could watch it.
Right. Now, I was going to say, I wish you would do that and let him talk to you.
Okay.
Michael did say that he'd be talking to you.
Okay.
I wanted to know, and I said, definitely.
Well, yeah.
I love you.
I love you too, buddy. I'm sorry you're in this.
Yeah, me too. Apparently, Chris and Scott were there. Emily was there. Emily looked horrible. See, I was told not to even look back that direction. So.
Well, and that's what they said on TV. She didn't even turn and look at her family. That's pretty.
Well, I was told not to keep my head down and do not look to the back.
Right. Don't look back and don't show any emotion.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for calling.
Did you think I wouldn't?
I was afraid.
Pinocchio was singing loud today.
Yeah. Yeah. Still the chess game.
Very much so.
Mm-hmm.
But please call Amanda and explain to her. Because she said she had some questions for you. That she was, she said she hadn't eat, she had slept, she had whatever, and they had actually just left Michael just a few minutes ago talking to him. So.
Okay. Well. Yeah, we'd be glad to talk to her.
Bethany, she said, I just have some questions that I want answered,
Right.
Because I said, Amanda, just remember that you know, what this it is. And remember what they can do at this hearing.
Right.
But yeah, you need to go back and watch the entire thing
Okay. I will do that.
and keep it. But yeah, definitely watch it with, you know, him.
Yeah. Well, he told me that that he had just settled a big court case that he thought was going to have him tied up all month. So he was going to be a lot more accessible. Wasn't really hoping that I needed him, but obviously we do.
Well, Michael told me, he said, no, I know it sounds bad. He said, but if you go back and watch it again, he explained to me what's not, you know.
Right. Yeah. I just hope he's got the knowledge that, you know, Manny said he had.
You checked on MJ lately?
I talked to her today after all this.
How is she?
She said, I think I'm going to need a pill. I said, yeah, me too. She said, well, come on over, I'll give you one.
I don't know how close that we are on time, but
8 minutes, 35 seconds from when it started ringing, I think.
okay,
I don't know how long you got.
15 minutes.
Okay, well, let's don't waste it. Holler back at me when you can.
Well, I mean, this phone call is 15 minutes. So.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, like I said, I'm gonna try to talk to Bobby, give him time to find that thing and see if he can watch it. I'll find it again and see if I can watch it.
I would have never not called you.
Huh?
I would have never not called you.
Thank you.
So when did you recant?
2 weeks ago. I've been trying to ever since last year, and Bobby just said, well, you don't need to say nothing unless something happens, because if nothing happens, then it don't matter.
All right.
And I'd tell him all the time, Bobby, it's killing me that I said something wrong.
Well, even how they said it today in court, the second go around wasn't right. Well, there was nothing to tell you, so.
I know, and that's what I said. I told him that 50 times.
Well, there still is no evidence.
No, I think everything they've got can easily be explained.
Well, and I don't know that they've got anything.
Well, that's true too.
Because there is nothing to have, because I didn't do anything.
Right. Oh. Well, just remember that Michael knows how sick he was and what he was going through.
I know.
Yep.
I do know.
I know. I know, baby.
I know, and sit with you.
Thank you.
Just remember, this is all us, you know. But you need to go back and really watch it, and all of it.
I will. I will.
I'll do my best to call you back tonight
Okay.
after you've watched it. See?
Yes. I'm gonna watch it.
I love you.
I love you. Be strong.
I will.
All right.
I promise you too.
I'm telling myself that every day, ever since last year.
Breathe.
I'm trying.
I know you are. Hey, baby. I love
All
you.
right, darling. I love you.
Oh,
Oh,
take a breath.
I am. Call me when you can.
I will. Talk to Amanda. Okay?
I will.
Okay. This call will be terminated in 2 minutes.
Okay. I love you. Bye.
This conversation with the defendant was after the preliminary hearing where they talked about the evidence in the case. Is that correct?
Yes,
And you had said that you had waited to tell law enforcement. Can you hear me?
that's better.
You said that you waited to tell law enforcement that you recanted or made a mistake or said something that wasn't true for several months. Is that right?
Yes,
And you didn't tell the defendant that you had said what she told you back in July 24th of 2018. You had not told the defendant that you told law enforcement about her saying he's in the burn pile.
no,
So what you wanted to do, is it not, you were trying to wait to see if any charges were taken out, so you didn't have to reveal to your lover that you actually told law enforcement. She did tell me on July 4th about 2 o'clock in the morning that he was in the burn pile. You just didn't want to have to tell her that, right?
no, that's not correct.
But you did wait until to see if she got arrested and until it came out in evidence that you actually were cooperating with law enforcement, right?
Under advisement of my attorney.
And then when you, in the prelim, when it came out that you did, when Detective Hayes testified that you told them back in July 2018 that she told you Gary's in the burn pile, when that information came out, this was the phone call afterwards. Is that correct?
Say that again.
In the preliminary hearing, when it was revealed that you did tell law enforcement that the defendant told you Gary's in the burn pile, this is the conversation that you had with the defendant after that came out in court, correct?
I would assume yes, because you've got the dates, so.
And in this conversation on the call that we just listened to, you were very concerned that she was going to be upset with you for what you told law enforcement about the burn pile, correct?
Correct,
You were concerned that she was going to stop talking to you, correct?
correct.
And you were concerned that she was going to end the relationship with you, and you didn't want that to happen, right?
Right.
And then she tells you that Amanda is very concerned over this, right?
Yes,
Because Amanda got really upset because she did not know that you had told law enforcement that the defendant, her mother, told you that Gary was in the burn pile. Is that right?
right.
And so after this, you actually had to go talk to Amanda and Chad. Is that right?
They came to Tullahoma, if I'm not mistaken. They came to Tullahoma to get Melody's belongings, and that's when we had the conversation.
But you had to sit down with them and explain to them why you told law enforcement that the defendant told you that Gary was in the burn pile back in July 4th of 2018, right?
Yes,
And you're not disputing that you said those words in July 24th, 2018. You said that the defendant told me Gary's in the burn pile.
Yes.
You said that, correct?
I did.
That happened in time. It's something you said.
It did.
But what you're telling the jury is that you were treated in such a manner that you were so scared, and that's why you said it back in July of 2018.
Yes.
That the way law enforcement was treating you, the context, the circumstances of that interview were such a degree that you lost the faculty to control what you were saying, right?
That's exactly right.
That it was, quote, duress is what you said in this phone call, correct?
Yes.
But you will agree with me back in July the 24th of 2018, in that same conversation with law enforcement, you sat there with them for hours, right?
I don't know how long we were there, but
You can't remember how long you were there, right?
No.
You can't remember all the details, is that correct?
No.
But yet you can remember in June of 2019 saying, I misspoke. She said that some other date after the event. It wasn't on July 4th.
I remember that because Bobby Carter, my attorney, and I talked about it nonstop for however many months that was. So it wasn't a, miraculous thought. It was an ongoing conversation from day one.
So what we have is you have one statement that you gave on July 24th of 2018 that the defendant admitted to you, a statement that she knew that she put that Gary was in the burn pile. We have that statement that you made, correct?
You do.
And then there's another statement almost a year later in June 25th of 2019, where you say, I recant that. She said that some other time, right?
That's correct.
But when you're talking to them in July of 2018, the 24th, when you're talking to them and saying Gary's in the burn pile, you're able to communicate with them and use complete sentences, right? You're talking freely, correct?
I was talking freely, yes.
Are you saying that you didn't have the ability to talk?
No, I had the ability to talk. You heard the words.
And you're saying that during this time, you agreed with me at parts during this interview that you would y'all would joke and have candy and were sharing candy on the 24th, right?
I'm guessing that was the same time. I don't know. Was that the strawberry one?
The watermelon?
Yeah.
And that
watermelon.
would have been after the statement about the burn pile, right?
I don't know. Was it?
You don't remember?
No, sir.
So you agree with me that the defendant was worried about you talking and saying things, right?
Yes.
And she did tell you to stop talking to law enforcement and not saying things.
Yes.
Isn't that true?
Yes.
You listened to another phone call, call 16, that was on July 8th of 2019. It was a conversation between you and the defendant in my office. Remember that? The second conversation that you listened to today,
Yes.
and that was a fair and accurate recording of a conversation between you and the defendant.
Yes.
Just this time I tendered evidence, call 16. Call 16. It is only 5 minutes and 5 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead.
Please remain on the line. Hold for acceptance. This is a prepaid call from an inmate at a correctional facility. Three-way or call waiting is not allowed. Your call has been accepted.
Started.
Rita,
Just got through unloading the machine.
wait.
You all right?
No.
What's wrong?
Well, back a long time ago, I said stop talking.
Right.
I haven't done anything.
I know that, darling.
But somehow or the other, you know, what you keep talking about, you're going to single-handedly hang me.
I have not said anything other than the one time, and I have retracted that, and they failed to show that retraction. I haven't said anything else because there was nothing else to say. There wasn't even that to say.
Well, what about a phone?
Nothing wrong with that.
Okay. I got another, you know, glass. So just making sure that you understand.
I do, baby, but there's nothing. You didn't do anything wrong. I haven't done anything wrong. But there's nothing wrong with us talking.
I understand that.
And there's nothing wrong with us talking because there's nothing to talk about.
Exactly.
There's nothing to talk about. Yeah. So.
But I'm asking you to, if you get a visit,
I'm trying to get an appointment with Bobby.
thank you. Y'all need to get in touch with people here.
Yes. Yeah, that was my goal. I wanted him to talk to your guy.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
Got to get a handle on that.
You know, the press took the one statement that was made out of fear, and they didn't pick up on the, you know, the retraction of it. So that obviously hasn't helped.
Well, Amanda is now really upset, so I'm related.
You know, I tried to call her and she didn't answer, so I wondered what was up.
Sure, talk to MJ.
I did.
She okay?
Yes.
Where was she yesterday?
I don't know. I just told her I'd come by and she wasn't there. She said, well, she didn't know where she was. She'd been out of the room. So I tried to call her after you and I talked and she didn't answer. And then she did finally call me back. She said then she was in the bathroom. And I told her I'd been by and she wasn't there.
All right. I get to go. Today's kind of an odd day, so please, if you get up with him.
Yes. I promise.
If you can get some things handled with
Yes.
my people.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I love you.
Be careful.
You too.
I love you.
I love you. I'm on Buzz Bobby right now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Judge, I'm almost at a stopping point. Maybe 5 more minutes if that's all right.
All right.
Rusty, can you hear me?
Yes.
What I want to do is, there's a lot of stress in these matters, in these cases. Is that right?
Yes.
So let me do this. Let me just add a little bit more light than heat. So let me take it down just a little bit. Did you hear on this phone call on July 8th of 2019, while the defendant's in jail, she said about 1:15, I have not said anything other. Right before that, she says about a minute, roughly 7. but some type or other, let you keep talking about you're going to single-handedly hang me. Did you hear say that?
Yes.
And then y'all started talking about that one conversation that you retracted, right?
Right.
And that one conversation was the one that you made in your attorney's office on July 24th of 2018, right?
Right.
Are you a reasonable person? You try to be reasonable.
I would think so.
You would agree with me, would you not, that when you made this statement in July about the defendant telling you Gary's in the burn pile, when you made that statement, you and your attorney, very good attorney, Mr. Carter, had huddled up just you two for about 30 minutes to discuss what you were going to say, right?
We went back into Bobby's office and Bobby was trying to talk me off the ledge. I was flipping out. And he was not expecting me to say that when I came back in.
But you were with your attorney, right?
Yes,
And you were paying your attorney, correct?
I was.
And you had 30 minutes or more to sit there and discuss what you were about to go do, right?
That whole 30 minutes was not what I was about to do. It was what I was just talking, I was so distraught that it wasn't even making sense. And he was trying to get me to calm down.
And you would agree with me that you then went back out knowing law enforcement was trying to get more information from you about what y'all talked about on the phone that night of the 4th. And then you said, he's in the burn pile.
That's correct.
And you agree with me that the defendant in this jail call was very concerned with you talking, right?
Yes.
And the words she used were single-handedly hang me.
Yes.
That's not what an innocent person says, is it?
That I don't know. Who? What she said or what I said?
What she said.
Well, I guess if you were locked up and somebody had said something against you, you'd probably say that too.
Because if the jury believes what you said on July 24th, that she had knowledge that he was in the burn pile, she's guilty of murder, right? If it's true.
No comment on that one.
Because you don't want to comment, do you?
No.
Judge, if we could stop here today, I'll pick back up.
All right. Afternoon or recess for the day. All right. We'll, you got more questions for him in the morning or you?
I may not, Judge.
All right. You're on
do
double.
have some legal arguments while I take over the courthouse.
All right. All right. We'll start.
Oh, Lord, thank you, Jesus, because, baby, that was wearing me out, okay? Am I still here? Uh-oh. Okay. That wore me out. Oh, my God. He wasn't scared of her. He's not scared of her. He is a ussy, okay? He don't know which way what he want to go. I think everybody named Mama threatening Rusty, the cops, the lawyers, Christina, hell. Okay, you made me say it. Even Melody pushing on him, right? So it's just a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. We have had a long, busy day here on Trial Watch with Demetra, and we got a heck of a day tomorrow. Tomorrow, we are absolutely anticipating a verdict to come down in the Ponzi scheme wife trial. What is it? West Virginia versus Natalie Cochran. When they left out today, the closing statements were done. And tomorrow, when they reconvene, they're going to actually start the jury deliberations. So they start deliberating first thing in the morning. So I'm anticipating a verdict in that case tomorrow. So what happened is in the morning, I won't come on at 10. Hey, thank you. Girl, it's a lot. Finally, jury duty is over. So I won't be coming live at 10 or 11 in the morning. What I will be doing is keeping an eye out on the jury deliberations. And as soon as the jury comes in with a verdict, that's when I will do the live. Okay. So, what should I do? I guess just make sure y'all got y'all bells hit, so y'all can come in, okay? And other than that, we'll start back tomorrow night for night court. We'll come in for the cross-examination of Rusty, and let me just say, I hope that the defense is going to tear him a new one. All right. You guys have been an absolutely great jury box tonight. I appreciate you all and all y'all participation. I'm going to need for y'all to calm down, okay, for tomorrow night. Y'all was a little bit unruly, okay? So yes, we're on verdict watch. Absolutely. Let me see what else I wanted to say. One more thing. Oh yes, I want to say welcome to Jessica. I was just playing with you, girl. Everybody allowed to have their opinion. If you're still in the cloud, I hope you feel comfortable to drop down again. And most definitely, I hope you subscribed and hit the bell and that you're considering becoming a part of the Lit Lane Jury Box. Until we meet again, court is dismissed. I'll see. Court is adjourned. Good night, everybody. Oh, y'all, so we like one subscriber away from hitting 1,500. So I was anticipating that. We are just growing. Good night.
Thanks for watching. Do not forget, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. Like, comment and share. See you next time.